Hi, my name is Syeda Sidra Idrees, and I am on a joint program of PhD between KU Leuven as well as University of Edinburgh. On this ECQI conference, I would be talking about body mapping as a youth health intervention and data collection tool. I would critically review the usability of body mapping as a data collection tool in art-based research. My study is with the name of My Past Was Dark, Is My Future Darker? It uses body mapping to capture the experiences of female unaccompanied refugee minors with asylum practices in United Kingdom and Belgium. The experiential part of the study explores how the emotional experiences of asylum practices structures the future prospects of female unaccompanied refugee minors from Global South. This review explores the usability of body mapping as a health intervention and data collection tool while working with marginalized youth. This would be done by critically evaluating a research project which is very close to my research with its methodology and has been done by Candice Liss. She has done this project in collaboration with the Public Health Agency of Canada to evaluate body mapping as an educational intervention used by Foxy among Northwest Territories youth in Canada. This review would be looking at the epistemological advantages and challenges of using body mapping in research, the ethical issues that may arise on the way, and the innovative way forward. So, starting with body mapping was developed by Solomon involves the process of designing life-size maps using painting, drawing, or other media to visually display aspects of person's life, their bodies, and their lived experiences. Body mapping was initially introduced as an alternate to standard counseling for women suffering with HIV and AIDS in South Africa as part of the Memory Project. Renowned for its potential to produce artful, rich data while providing valuable experiences for researchers, participants, and practitioners, this method has since then been used around the world to explore social and embodied determinants of health among marginalized communities, particularly women. Solomon designed a facilitator's guide shortly after this project, following the tremendous interest in the body mapping method, and Liz's study takes visualization prompts from the Solomon's work, which has been presented here and used in her study. The aim of her study, on which this critical review is based, is to explore how various socioeconomic factors influence the sexual health of female Indigenous youth in NWT using body mapping. So, what is Foxy, on which this project and this review by Liz has been based? Foxy, Fostering Open Expression Among Youth, is an art based sexual health intervention by a non-profit with the same name. Foxy was successfully provided and continues to provide sexual health related education to more than 1,700 women through art based workshops held in 22 schools. These community level interventions are essential in Northwest Territories of Canada since sexual health has emerged as a serious public health issue in this region, since the rates of sexually transmitted infections and pregnancies among adolescents, people in the age of 15 to 24, are extremely high. The Foxy School workshops with adolescent girls focus on both performance arts and visual arts, primarily body mapping as means to facilitate education and generate discussion around sexual health. This project by Liz has caught my attention since in this project she, along with seven other experts, does not only explore the relevance of body mapping as an educational tool, she does this by utilizing body mapping as a data collection tool with 41 women participants aged 17 years, 90% from Indigenous communities. Since her project deals with the women, with the young girls in the same age, that is between 13 to 17 years old, this is very close to my group of participants who I call knowledge holders, and they would be within the same age and from the marginalized communities, that is war affected areas. Um, Through this work, by focusing on body mapping as a data collection tool, I challenge the reductionist narrative and methodology literature that ascribes a subjugated status to art based methods and accredited superior position to traditional qualitative research methods. I, by critically evaluating the methodological approach of Liz, will argue that although body map is a relatively new tool of data collection, primarily with refugee research, it is still a valuable tool to capture lived experiences of people, particularly if the research participants are children or young adults. Art based ways of knowledge creation are grounded in hands on active participation and personal connections that challenge the otherwise dominant impersonal and objective forms of knowledge creation, ascribing the attributes of non serious and subjective knowledge to the data gathered this way. Social scientists, by utilizing art based practices in their research, challenge the inequities associated with this hierarchical world of knowledge classification and highlight the need for knowledge democracy by pushing the boundaries to make new space for meaning making. Now, moving on to the epistemological advantages and challenges of using body mapping. Liz, whilst adopting a feminist ontological orientation in her projects with Foxy, which is very similar to the intersectional approach that I have used by Crenshaw to look at the experiences of female unaccompanied refugee minors while they deal with multiple subjugations when they arrive in Europe, has I would talk about the epistemological advantages of using this art-based approach. The epistemological advantages of using body mapping as a data collection tool uh, is that it harnesses trust and eliminate power differences between participants and researcher, reduces verbal communication barriers, which in her project are associated with varying level of comprehension and literacy levels, and an intent to empower young girls so that they can express visually that are otherwise difficult to explain using words. And this is also true with my research because these unaccompanied refugee minors come from multiple cultures. Although the epistemological significance of this project is highlighted to a certain degree in this study, the research design presented and described has some shortcomings, which have both technical and ethical implications. While Liz emphasizes she has used body map visualization prompts from Solomon's Facilitator's Guide, she has not featured how she has adapted the South African methodology from Global South to align with the cultural context in NWT Canada, which is situated in Global North. And this is another consideration that I have taken into account while setting up my methodology. This raises important ethical questions of cultural appropriation and knowledge creation, a term recently used in methodology literature to demonstrate insufficient recognition for the origin of the methodology and limited cultural relationship to participants or practices. This lack of adaptation to context and art based methods poses an epistemological challenge since the uncontemplated pursuit of innovation over integrity will not only challenge the feasibility of the study, but will also put the participants through distress. Reflecting on similar situations, the facilitator's guide, accessible easily online, has been removed by Solomon and colleagues. Liz has also made limited references to ethical considerations, though, when you are using an art based method, primarily body mapping, ethical consideration and implications of conducting a research are important and should be paid sig- significant attention. Although Liz did not specifically highlight the issue of ownership of the art base produced, she has highlighted that the participants were given an option to take body maps homes after they have been photographed. However, it must be understood that there are logistical challenges involved with these body maps because they are life size images. Moreover, while Liz specifies that consent was sought from the parents and the children, it did not clarify in her study if the consent was verbal. are written, which is another important thing that needs to be considered while using body mapping as an art based tool. Anonymity of the participants was promised to be maintained throughout the research process. However, in academic visual research, ethics of anonymity is a contested subject. Some scholars argue that identifiable images can cause harm, whereas others believe that hiding identifiable traits of arts can dehumanize the endeavors of the already marginalized populations. This ethical paradox of privacy and visibility has not been addressed in this paper and in recent research in general. To eliminate potential distress caused by engaging in a highly emotional visual activity, the lead researcher notified the participants about the availability of lead counselor in their community. Here, it must be noted that 90% of the participants of this study are from indigenous community, which means that researchers had to be mindful of the intergenerational trauma and the fact that being marginalized, the youth may not be able to reach these counselors. An alternative distress management should have been provided to the youth. It is possible that Liz addressed these ethical issues during her study design, but the failure to address these issues in her research paper challenged the feasibility of the study. So, moving forward with the way forward, invention is mostly this kind of subtle, inevitable, this people get closer to the beauty of their invention. They get narrower and more particular in it. It's a million choices you make. The thing that's important is to know is that you never know. You're always sort of feeling your way. This is a quote by Arbus about arts and invention. Invention and the art based methods go hand in hand. Liz has used thematic analysis and coding using Atlas TI Max software to analyze her body maps, which is a reductionist way of interpreting data in art based research. Archer challenges this approach to analyzing body maps considering the sheer volume of information contained and distributed across various layers. There's this background of the body map, the body, and the symbols. Content analysis using themes is regarded as a horizontal axis analysis of body map. Who pinpoints the axle embodiment of the map? Arkut claims the vertical dimensions of the analysis, that is, the placement of items on the background, body, and use of symbols, and their interaction among each other should also be analyzed for rigorous analysis and to capture the naturalization of body of a participant in dynamic research setting. Parry, under her post-qualitative approach to data analysis, highlights the significance of reading data with theory to find new research avenues in data and to recontextualize the findings in the context of research objectives of the study. The Liz's work does not explicitly highlight how her study will influence policy. She reveals through her study that body mapping is a useful educational tool and can be used for health intervention in the community based participatory research. It further reveals that the visual prompts and the guided process of body map enables participants to recognize their inner strength and hence is an asset-based approach to conducting research which is useful while working with marginalized youth. This is all. Please let me know if there are any questions. Thank you so much.